Hello and welcome to the public meeting on the Request for Information, or RFI, on the National Flood Insurance Program's Community Rating System redesign effort. My name is Hunter Gray, and I am providing some technical housekeeping information and a preview of the agenda for today's session. We are hosting this public meeting to gather input on the RFI published in the Federal Register on July 11th, 2024. The RFI seeks information on how FEMA can better serve communities through the National Flood Insurance Program's Community Rating System, also known as the CRS program. Specifically, the RFI seeks further input on suggested alternative program features and approaches for a redesigned CRS program, based upon public input from the August 23, 2021 Request for Information on the National Flood Insurance Program's Community Rating System, published in the Federal Register. Please note that this meeting is being recorded, and a transcript will become part of the public record. Continued participation in this public meeting constitutes your consent that your name may appear on the official transcript for the record. If you are a member of the media, nothing said on this call is attributable to FEMA. Please direct your request to the FEMA press office at fema-news-desk@fema.dhs.gov. The FEMA news team will help you. I'd like to provide a brief orientation to some of the controls and functions available for today's webinar. On the bottom of your screen, you will find the meeting controls. This event includes closed captioning for those who may need it. You can turn on the captioning by clicking on the Show Captions or CC icon and making any adjustments you may need. We will also post a link in the chat to view captions in a browser window if you prefer. American Sign Language interpretation is also available. It can be accessed by clicking Interpretation or the globe icon from your webinar controls and clicking American Sign Language. Note that language interpretation is only available if you join the meeting from a computer. It is not available for those joining by phone. Live spoken language interpretation is also available in Spanish and can be accessed by clicking Interpretation as well, then clicking Spanish. To hear only the audio for Spanish, click Mute Original Audio. Again, language interpretation is only available if you join the meeting from a computer. It is not available for those joining by phone. The purpose of this meeting is to seek general feedback on FEMA's programs. Individuals cannot apply for assistance or receive information regarding a pending assistance request as a part of the meeting. If you are seeking assistance from FEMA, please call the FEMA helpline at 1-800-621-3362 or TTY 800-462-7585 to apply or receive information on a pending request. We ask that you please use the question and answer window to reach out for help with technical difficulties. Please note that submission through the Q&A window will become part of the public record. Keep an eye on the chat window for any messages broadcast to all participants. By default, participants are disabled from speaking during the presentation portion of the public meeting. Due to the limited time frame of the meeting, the verbal comment portion of today's meeting will allow only those who registered in advance an opportunity to provide comments on the RFI for a limited amount of time. Registered speakers will be limited to approximately 2 minutes, and time permitting, speakers who had not previously registered may be permitted to give verbal comments. We ask that those who registered to speak ensure that their Zoom username matches the first and last name used for the registration. For those who registered to provide verbal comments during today's session, please note that users must join today's webinar with the Zoom desktop app or mobile app to provide verbal comments. Due to technical limitations, you will not be able to provide verbal comments if you join the webinar by phone audio only. Toward the end of the public meeting, and as time allows, there may be an open comment period for interested individuals to provide additional verbal comments. We are going to provide a link in the chat box to the NFIP CRS website, which has materials for your reference about the CRS program. Let's take a moment to review today's agenda. First, we will hear opening remarks from FEMA's Hazard Mitigation Directorate leadership. After that, we'll provide an overview of the CRS program presented by FEMA's Floodplain Management Division. From there, we'll provide an overview of the programmatic review and improvement effort for the CRS program called CRS Redesign. Once the introduction information has been provided on the current CRS program and the CRS Redesign effort, we'll explain the instructions for providing your written comments through the Federal Register RFI during this open comment period. Comments can be submitted until September 9th, 2024. The majority of the remaining time on today's public meeting is reserved for verbal comments for the record on the CRS redesign RFI. We will review all the details about how to provide verbal comments during this meeting before we open the floor for verbal comments. And we'll conclude with a few closing remarks. Today's presenters include Eric Leppin, FEMA's Deputy Assistant Administrator for the Hazard Mitigation Directorate, and Shilpa Mullik, FEMA Floodplain Management Division CRS Redesign Program Manager. And now I'm going to hand things over to Eric for opening remarks.
Hello and welcome to the public meeting on the Request for Information, or RFI, on the National Flood Insurance Program's Community Rating System redesign effort. As Hunter mentioned, FEMA is currently obtaining feedback on suggested program alternatives to the Community Rating System, or CRS, through a Request for Information, or RFI, published in July. I want to provide you with a brief background and context on the National Flood Insurance Program and the CRS. The NFIP is managed by FEMA, and it provides federally backed flood insurance to property owners, renters, and businesses. Today, approximately 22,600 communities across the country participate in the NFIP. In order for those communities to participate in the NFIP, FEMA requires them to adopt and enforce minimum floodplain management standards. The idea behind CRS is to incentivize communities to adopt measures that reduce the risk of flood damage beyond the minimum requirements of the NFIP through premium credits. In the last 5 years, FEMA has engaged in various strategic initiatives, including CRS redesign, and has been coordinating these transformation efforts to build an enduring NFIP. As enduring NFIP depends on federal leadership empowering state and local officials to take steps to mitigate their flood risk with collaboration as a focal point. This partnership is a two-part equation encompassing the thought leadership FEMA provides and the work communities and policyholders are doing to increase the nation's resilience to flooding. The CRS is a prime example of how communities are working to increase flood mitigation practices nationwide. Through the CRS redesign initiative, FEMA is reviewing opportunities to further improve and promote enhanced resilience efforts through the CRS program. Today's meeting is an opportunity to provide your comments on the suggested program alternatives to the CRS program. These public meetings are designed to allow our stakeholders and the general public to learn more about this effort and allow the opportunity to provide input. Please note that due to the high level of interest in today's meeting, we will accommodate as many registered speakers as we can within the allotted time period. I want to thank you for taking the time to participate in this process and help make the CRS program sustainable and beneficial for many years to come. And now I'm going to hand things over to Shilpa Mullik, the CRS Redesign Program Manager, to provide an overview of the CRS redesign effort and further information on how you can provide input on the suggested program alternatives.
Thank you, Eric. Hunter, can you confirm whether you can hear me?
We can hear you, Shilpa.
Okay. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining this public meeting for the National Flood Insurance Program's Community Rating System Redesign Request for Information. We abbreviate these as NFIP and CRS. My name is Shilpa Mullik, and I'm the Program Manager for the CRS redesign effort. Today, I'll be providing you with a brief overview of the current CRS program and then speaking about the redesign effort. The CRS program was designed to empower and incentivize communities to take actions that go above and beyond the minimum floodplain management standards of the NFIP and to reward and incentivize those actions. The program's original intent was to reduce and avoid flood damage to insurable properties, strengthen and support the insurance aspects of the National Flood Insurance Program, and foster comprehensive floodplain management. The program was premised on the belief that communities are best positioned to develop the most effective approaches to local flood problems. This program was authorized by Congress in 1994, and the program offers many benefits to participating communities. CRS discounts currently range from 5 to 45% and are calculated based on communities' credit points obtained through various flood risk management activities. Other benefits include increased opportunities for property owners to understand flood risk, reduce damage to property, technical assistance for some community activities, and incentives to maintain and improve flood programs over time. The CRS program offers credits to communities based on implementing approved floodplain management activities. These activities are organized into 4 categories that provide a sense of the range of what's possible to earn credits for under CRS today. And these 4 categories are public information, mapping and regulations, flood damage reduction, and warning and response. To give you a better understanding of the scale of the current CRS program, as of April 2024, there are approximately 1,500 communities participating in CRS across the US. And there are over 3.5 million policyholders in these CRS communities, accounting for more than 75% of all National Flood Insurance Program in flood insurance policies. Now I'll speak a bit about the reason we are pursuing the CRS redesign effort at this time. So CRS redesign is a multi-year effort intended to take a comprehensive look at the CRS program, exploring both the incremental improvements and bold shifts in approach. This was launched in 2022, and the project aims to revamp the CRS programmatic framework, potentially including revisions to the rating system scoring and operational elements. CRS redesign is FEMA's way of addressing stakeholders' feedback on the current CRS program. The redesign effort is a way for the public to have input on the future of a prominent flood risk reduction and money-saving program. In sum, we've heard your feedback and are once again speaking to our partners and stakeholders to determine the best path forward for the future of CRS. As mentioned earlier, the CRS redesign effort is intended to take a comprehensive look at the CRS program, exploring both incremental improvements and bold shifts in approach. We did not arrive at this place by accident. CRS redesign is in part a response to the overwhelming volume of feedback received from stakeholders in the last few years, including from the request for information published in 2021. CRS has always been a highly valued program with a solid reputation with communities and stakeholders. So we want to be mindful of those positive experiences and carefully consider any impacts that would result from a total overhaul of this program. CRS redesign also reflects ongoing transformations in FEMA and the NFIP aimed at increasing equity and climate resilience. There have been many important advances since the program's inception over 30 years ago. There's also been continuous learning about flooding and flood risk reduction techniques. We understand more today about risk and the techniques to manage risk, and the technology available to us has dramatically improved in the last 30 years. We also know more about multi-frequency analysis, fluvial flooding, climate change, and the extent of flood risk outside of the Special Flood Hazard Area, or SFHA. Another important factor that we're considering during the CRS design process is a report from the Government Accountability Office, or GAO, which was published in July of 2023. GAO presented several findings about the CRS program as it currently operates. The GAO report used their findings to provide 2 recommendations to the CRS program. First is to adjust CRS by calculating communities' rating based only on community activities that reduce flood risk, and by incorporating discounts into the full risk premium based on the actuarial evaluation of risk reduction. And second, to evaluate other means for incentivizing desirable community activities that cannot be actuarially justified, but are currently a basis for discounts in CRS. Both these recommendations are being considered through the CRS redesign effort. That said, we've heard from internal and external stakeholders about opportunities to improve and occasional and thoughtful criticism. All of these factors together paint the picture of why FEMA must undertake the CRS redesign to remain consistent with other change efforts and stakeholder feedback. Next, I'd like to take a moment to talk about where we are in the overall life cycle of the project, what we've accomplished so far, and what we're focused on for this year. We've said it already, and we'll say it again. CRS redesign is a multi-year effort. We're doing this because taking a deliberate and intentional analytical approach ensures that the future design and features of CRS are founded on rigorous data-driven and evidence-based decision-making. The evaluation process we're undertaking is the second phase of the larger CRS redesign journey. We're executing an intentional process that centers around a deliberate and analytical approach to program redesign. So as we look ahead, FEMA will use the evaluation findings to initially select a program design in FY25 for further consideration, with the goal of focusing on implementation planning in 2026. No changes will be made to the CRS program at least until 2026. It's important to note that with whatever program design is chosen, FEMA is dedicated to providing ample time for communities to prepare for the implementation of the redesigned program. Once the multi-year redesign process concludes and the new program is finalized, FEMA will allow a minimum period of 18 months for communities to make any unnecessary adjustments and successfully implement the program. This extended timeline offers communities the opportunity to plan, adapt, and ensure a smooth transition to the revamped CRS, promoting a more efficient and effective floodplain management approach. One of the first milestones completed in the CRS design process was establishing goals for the future program. These goals were developed based on stakeholder feedback about the current CRS program with input from FEMA experts and NFIP executives. The following goals have been established for the redesigned CRS program. Goal 1, incentivize communities to take measurable actions and make sustained progress that reduce current and future flood risk. Goal 2, embed equity as a foundation of the CRS program. Goal 3 is to incentivize communities to promote property owners to purchase flood insurance to reduce their financial risk to the flood. And goal 4 is delivering a participant-centered and modernized program. Now that I've centered you around the progress we've made in the CRS redesign effort and the focus of our current work, I'd like to transition to the engagement portion of today's presentation. So based on our previous stakeholder feedback, FEMA is considering suggested alternatives for the CRS program to be designed, and stakeholder questions consider the following suggested features: automatic enrollment, premium surcharges, risk-based premiums and CRS discounts, exchanging individual benefits for community benefits, enhanced technical assistance, simplification of CRS, and multi-jurisdiction CRS participation. Next, we're going to spend a few minutes talking through how we're engaging the public on this effort and how you can participate. We'll be providing multiple opportunities for stakeholders and the public to provide inputs throughout their CRS redesign initiative. FEMA has issued this request for information to receive input from the public on transforming the community rating system under the NFIP to better align with the current understanding of flood risk and flood risk reduction approaches, and to incentivize communities to not only manage but also lower their flood risk through floodplain management initiatives and to support the sound financial framework of the NFIP. You may submit written comments identified by Docket ID FEMA-2024-0022-0001 through the federal e-rulemaking portal at www.regulations.gov. All submissions must include the agency name and docket ID for this notice. For access to the docket to read background documents or comments received, please go to http://www.regulations.gov and search for the docket ID. Written comments are requested on or before September 9th, 2024. For any comments we ask you to identify the number of the specific question or questions to which you are responding. Now we'll move into the verbal comment portion of today's meeting. Members of the public who during registration indicated an interest in providing verbal comments will be given the opportunity to speak first. As a reminder of what Eric mentioned at the top of this meeting, please note that due to a high level of interest in today's meeting, we'll accommodate as many registered speakers as we can fit within 2 to 2.5 hours. If you register to speak and due to time limitations, we do not get to you during today's meeting, we encourage you to sign up to provide verbal comments at the third public meeting, which is scheduled for next week on August 27th. We would also like to remind everyone that written comments may be submitted through regulations.gov. Speaking order is determined by the date of submission in chronological order of registration, and we'll be using a timer to stay on track. Moderator will call 2 names. The first will be the current speaker and the second will be the speaker on deck. When your name is called, please use the raise hand function to indicate your readiness to speak. A moderator will then invite you to unmute your microphone. Once your microphone is unmuted, and you're ready to speak, please state your name for the record and that you're ready to speak. Each speaker will have approximately 2 minutes to speak, and the timer will begin after you have been acknowledged by the moderator to speak. The moderator will say, "We hear you, first name, your time for verbal comments begins now." If time allows, after all registered speakers finish providing verbal comments, we'll invite other meeting participants who have not yet spoken to indicate an interest in speaking by clicking raise hand and submitting a note to moderators in the Q&A window. We anticipate having more people who would like to provide comments than we have time for today. In the event you'd like to provide verbal comments for the record and there is not enough time for you to comment, we're holding one more public meeting on Tuesday, August 27th from 3 to 4:30 Eastern. We also welcome your written comments, which can be submitted via the federal rulemaking portal through September 9th. Unfortunately, as was stated on the registration page for this event, anyone who has dialed in by phone will be unable to provide spoken comments at this time. If you've dialed into the meeting by phone and wish to provide comments, please submit a written comment online at www.regulations.gov and insert FEMA-2024-0022-0001 in the search function. Now, I'll invite Hunter Gray to facilitate the verbal comment portion of this meeting. Over to you, Hunter.
Shobha, one moment. Let me make sure that we've got everything set up. Okay. I think I'm almost there. One moment. Okay, so let me turn on the timer so that we're ready for that. Our first person up to speak is Alicia Silva, and then the next person on deck would be Albert Dambrose. So let me make sure that we've got everything squared away. Okay. Alicia, let me turn your microphone on. Alicia, are you ready to provide comments?
Hey, sorry, I didn't realize I signed up for verbal comments, so no, I'm not ready. I apologize.
Okay. That's all right. Thank you. Let me see. Then, Albert, are you on and ready to provide comments?
I am on. I don't have any comments. I guess I didn't understand the format of the presentation. I thought it would go in more detail about CRS and the rating and the specific of the changes. So there's kind of impossible to provide feedback with that.
Okay. You're welcome to provide written comments or submit other questions through the various channels that were noted, and we would encourage you to do so.
Hi, I just want to add that the changes or the suggested alternatives, those are actually in the request for information that is published in the Federal Register. So you can go through those and you can provide your comments.
Great, thank you, Shilpa. Okay, next up we have Deirdre Kennard Green. Deirdre, let me see if you are on. Deirdre, are you on and would you like to provide comments?
Yes, I am on. I did have a couple questions. Well, one in particular would be, do we know when the new items will be, I guess, proposed or finalized for us to implement? I know that you said that we have at least a year to get into compliance. So I guess it's a two-part question. One, do we have a time frame on when those will be finalized? And then two, with the year of fitting or meeting the new qualifications, could that possibly affect the current ratings that certain communities have currently?
Okay, so I shared the slide, you saw that, right? For the a high level timeline. So
Yes.
we anticipate, yeah, so we anticipate landing on the final design sometime in 2025. And from that time onwards, we'll be providing communities at least 18 months before we implement. So it will be sometime in FY 2026 and beyond. As for the whether it's going to impact the rating of the current communities, it's too soon to tell because we're just getting feedback on the alternatives. We really haven't made any decision. No final decision has been made. But once we have landed on the design, we'll definitely communicate what that is and how that will impact the communities.
Okay, and then one last question.
Yes.
With the CRS program, I know that there's recertification as well as re-verification timelines. So I guess my question is, if that happens in between one of those, I guess how would that affect it? Because I know that we have certain items that have to be completed for recertification that
Yes.
may or may not be the same for your re-verify. So if you happen to be a community and let's say it does take effect in between time or in the middle of your actual re-verification and or recertification, would we go with the items from the previous year or will we go with the new items implemented?
Yeah, we haven't gone down to that level yet because we're still at a high level. So once we have implemented, once we have decided on what the final design looks like, made a decision on that, and then we start looking at implementation, that's when we will start looking at how to handle those situations. But it's too soon at this point.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Just as a friendly reminder, this period is to provide verbal comments for the record, and we will be limiting questions for the presenter for the remainder of the meeting. So next person up to speak we have as Lynn White. Lynn, are you on and ready to provide comments? If you are on, please raise your hand. Does not appear Lynn is on. Okay, next we have Ashley Couch. Ashley, are you on and would you like to provide comments?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm on.
Your time starts now.
Thank you. I have some concerns with 510 and 610. And while I understand the intent of having comprehensive programs and wanting to incentivize those, the way it's structured now, unless you're able to do all of certain activities, you don't get points. And so it's kind of a almost an all or nothing approach. So I would suggest redesigning that rather than in order to get any points, you have to do A, B, C, and D. you say, okay, well, you'll get a certain number of points for A, a certain number of points for B, etc. And if you do, A, B, C, D, E, F, or whatever, you get a bonus of so many points. And that way you're incentivizing a comprehensive program, which I think is good and warranted. But the way it is now, it's like, unless we can do all of those things, why do any of them? Because you're not going to get any credit. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Next up, we have Courtney Walker. Courtney, are you on and would you like to provide comments?
Yeah, I'm on. I'm very lost and confused, I think, because I'm not exactly clear on how to provide comments on something that I don't know what is being proposed. And is there a place where we can be directed? Is there a link or something that we should be going to see various alternatives? I'm not exactly sure how to comment on something that I haven't seen.
Yeah, Courtney, when you went to register for the meetings, did you see that there was a Federal Register notification there published?
I mean, I read through some stuff online, but it didn't go through anything specific.
At the end, there are questions which are the proposed or the suggested alternatives by the stakeholders.
Okay, can you direct me to that? I don't know that I can figure out exactly where I was on that.
Okay, all right.
I thought this, I'm sorry, I apologize. I thought this Zoom meeting was to go over what was being proposed. So I guess I didn't review anything before the meeting.
Okay, yeah, this meeting, and there is another opportunity on the 27th. If you would like to review the request for information and the questions that are there, which are the basically suggested alternatives, and you can comment, register and comment on it then if you'd like. And we can post the link to the Federal Register notification in the chat. And at the end, you'll see the various alternatives, which are basically in the form of questions.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. All right. Next up, we have Chris Crew. Chris, if you're on, please raise your hand. Okay, does not look like Chris is on. Let's move to the next person, Benjamin Brown. Benjamin, are you on and would you like to provide comments?
I am on, but I don't have any questions right now.
Okay. Thank you. Elena Divino. Elena, are you on and would you like to provide comments? Elena, you're on mute. We can't hear you yet. Okay, Elena, if you want to speak later, if you're having technical issues, please submit something in the Q&A for us, and we'll make sure to get you back in the rotation later. Next up, we have Frankie Kropacek. Frankie, if you're on, please raise your hand. Does not appear that Frankie is online. We're going to go to the next person, Jane Day. Jane, are you on? And would you like to provide comments? Jane, if you're on, please make sure to unmute so that we can hear you. Okay. Jane, if you'd still like to provide verbal comment, we're going to move on to the next person. But if you'd like to be considered in the rotation later, please just submit something into the Q&A for us. Next up is Monty Frank. Monty, if you're on, please raise your hand. Does not appear that Monty is online. We're going to go to the next person. Elizabeth Wong, are you on and would you like to provide comments?
Hi, this is Elizabeth. Can you hear me?
We can, Elizabeth.
I have a lot of comments on elevation certificates. I don't know if this is the opportunity to provide them, or can I just submit them in writing?
You're welcome to submit comments at any time in writing. This is just to provide verbal comments for the record.
Okay, a lot of us CRS communities are having a really wild time with the elevation certificates and all the changes and all the discrepancies, which we feel are not very fair. And there are a lot of problems with the form. And we, the CRS community, will be penalized if we do not achieve more than less than 90% correctness. I think this is very unfair. Surveyors are professionals and they should be responsible for their errors. And I am proposing in writing how to fix this. I will not bore you with my details, but I have a very good plan, which I will submit on the docket.
Okay, thank you for your comments. One moment. Next up, we have Gary Ehrlich. Gary, are you on and would you like to provide comments?
Sure. Sure I can. Maybe not the greatest preparation, but anyway, I'm Gary Ehrlich. I'm a director of codes and standards with National Association of Home Builders. And I think from a broad scale, what I think we'd like to see from CRS is, first, to the extent that it may already be in there, I didn't get a chance to review the credits, but to either the extent to which you can build on existing credits or add, maybe add additional credits, but, focus on, both, community level improvements that can, improve flood resistance for the community, whether that's flood protective works, drainage improvements, other sorts of things. Or kind of both of the community and the kind of the site or parcel level, green infrastructure type things that can, improve, adding more green space, adding permeable pavement, right? Things that can just reduce, the risk of, floodwater, particularly from from pluvial flooding or heavy rainfall, right? Accumulating on a site and becoming a flood, and, not just keep harping on, more and more and more elevation and structural mitigation, which seems to be the focus, and drives a lot of, affordability and cost issues for us. And also want to urge, especially as codes and standards move towards, regulating in Zone X 500-year floodplain, to stay away from, trying to use the CRS as a tool to get communities to eliminate all development in certain areas of the community. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, next up, we have Vince Seas. Vince, are you on and would you like to provide comments? Vince, if you're on, we can't hear you. Please make sure you're on mute. Vince, it looks like you're unmuted, but I don't know that we can hear you yet. Still looks like you're unmuted, but I don't know that we can hear you. Vince, do you mind if we put you back into the rotation if you want to try troubleshooting your audio later? Okay, Vince, if you'd still like to speak, please submit a Q&A to us, and we will make sure to get you back into the rotation. Okay, next up is Lauren Brinkman. Lauren, if you're online, please raise your hand. Okay, it does not appear that Lauren's online. Vince, we're going to come back to you and see if you are able to unmute and we can hear you. All right, Vince, can you unmute? Can we hear you? Try again. I don't know that we can hear you yet, Vince. All right, Vince, I'm going to put you back into the rotation and we'll continue trying to get you later. Next up is Elizabeth Smith. Elizabeth, are you on and would you like to provide comments? Does not appear that Elizabeth is on. Next up is Raymond Mesa. Raymond, would you like to provide comments and are you online?
Hi, my name is Raymond with the City of Santa Clarita Public Works. My question is, once this new CRS system gets in effect, are we going to have any kind of like support from FEMA or FEMA representatives to walk us through the 5-year audit process or the annual verification process, especially with the new system will be implemented, since we don't have any details on the new system yet. So I was hoping if this is something that you guys are going to consider for supporting the communities like our city.
Raymond, thank you for your comments. I'm not sure if you have other ones. This public meeting is intended, and this portion of the public meeting is intended to capture verbal comments. So we'll capture what you've shared for the record. If there are other comments you'd like to share, please let us know.
I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next up is Brian Jones. Brian, are you on and would you like to provide comments?
Yes, I represent a Class 2 CRS community. I'm a floodplain administrator for that community. And, we have concerns related to the GAO recommendation of only crediting activities that are basically directly impact flood insurance. So as a Class 2 community, we have a program for public information. We have a very robust open space lands preservation, natural beneficial functions of floodplains, maintenance of infrastructure, all of which are, our score is heavily dependent upon those. And so, there's a concern on our part that communities that have reached these, the higher levels of CRS will basically be punished is not really necessarily the right word, but there'll be detriments to them because a lot of these activities that have been credited by CRS that are credited currently will be lost because you can't necessarily directly relate the protection of flood-prone open space to flood insurance premiums or to program for public information outreach. How do you directly tie that to flood insurance policies and rates? And so there's a concern that really robust programs like ours may be we may get downgraded potentially because a lot of those activities that we currently do will no longer score.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Next up, we have John Doherty. John, if you're on, will you please raise your hand? Okay, it does not appear that John is on right now. Next up, we have Alyssa Commons. Alyssa, are you on and would you like to provide comments?
I'm on, but I don't have any comments at this time. Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, thank you. Next up, we have Carolyn Steffen. Carolyn, are you on and would you like to provide comments? All right, it does not appear that Carolyn is online. Next up is Salifu Yakubu. Salifu, are you on and would you like to provide comments?
Yes, I'm on. I don't have any comments at this time. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. All right, next up we have Denise Boning. Denise, are you on and would you like to provide comments?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yes, I do have comments. Specifically, some of the smaller municipalities will never be able to reach a class 2 category because they're smaller and there's just certain things that they cannot do. So let's say their open space isn't big, they're totally built out, so they won't be able to reach a class 2 community. So I think in terms of your question number 10 there, whether there are advantages or disadvantages of communities working with other communities to implement the CRS under a regional approach, I think would be a great idea if we can have more activities in addition to your 510 and 610, where you work with the other communities, have more activities where you can work with a community to get credit that will also flow into the smaller municipalities, and maybe even go as far as sharing CRS coordinators and work with them together as a whole. And the only other thing that I was hoping is in terms of activities is maybe having certain activities more of a scale. For example, in 430, you have the lower substantial improvement. If it's less than 50%, you get credit. Well, why not have a scale like you have the freeboard, a scale? Have the same thing with that. And then last but not least, number 7, I think is a terrible idea. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Next up, we have Jennifer Gerbasi. Jennifer, are you on and would you like to provide comments?
Sure, thank you. First, I'll mention, like others have, that I thought that we were going to be presented with options and have a chance to ask for clarifications, but I have downloaded it and just have a few things to that I have comments. I've already typed in my questions. So for number 4, I think it was asking a little bit about support that we might be able to get from CRS that would be helpful. And at this point, I think there's maybe a lack of transparency. There's all sorts of things that we're supposed to do. But for example, with plans, you can get, I think that's in 520, you can get credit for that, but it would be nice if we could provide outlines of what we were going to do or drafts and see if we're heading in the right direction before we, then go in for scoring. Because we really don't know when it comes back out how they've received what we've said, and some help along the way would be helpful. And in our planning tools, the changes that we're planning on making, it would be good if we could have some support, like I said, along the way So we didn't get surprised when we got our, scoring for our various initiatives. And maybe there it is available and we just don't know it. I know that I've gone to ASFPM and sometimes there's been somebody there who can provide a little bit of feedback, but those generally weren't the people who would actually be ranking them. It seemed nice to them, it seemed good to them, but they weren't people who would have been actually ranking and scoring our plans or our actions. And then in number 8, I think it was asking about, again, kind of how CRS could support us. And CRS asks us to try to shift our community's points of view, I think. So it might be good if there were materials that support the things that the CRS would like us to do. That might be helpful for flood reduction actions, expressing the savings to them, and helping people understand the benefits of some of the activities that you're. They also on number 7, if what you're asking in number 7 is if the community should keep the benefits instead of giving the premium reductions to the homeowners and policyholders, I think that's a terrible idea, and I don't know how we would be able to sell spending all of the time that we have on staff keeping the CRS program if it didn't give our residents those discounts. I'd be curious what anybody thought their community would say, their community members would say about it if they were going to keep the value, if that's what that means. But I don't know if that is actually what number 7 means.
As a friendly reminder, would I encourage you to conclude your comments?
I'm done.
Thank you.
Okay. So this is, I want to provide clarification to the question. And Jennifer, I don't know if this was the question where, is it the one where part of the benefits, I don't know which off the top of my head, which is question 7, but there might be one where it says portion of the benefits going to the community. Is that the question?
Yes.
Okay, so that question actually, that was a suggestion from some of the smaller communities that instead of all the discounts going to the policyholders, percentage of it go to the communities for capacity building, hiring a CRS coordinator, or implementing any mitigation projects. So that was a suggestion from the stakeholder.
I see. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Thank
And
you.
I am happy to provide clarification on any other questions if needed. It will be there. I won't have too much time because we would like to reserve this for public comments. But if a clarification is needed, I can provide a quick clarification. I didn't realize that many folks did not read those alternatives. So I'm happy to provide any clarifications if needed.
Okay, up next, we have Kevin Zidak. Kevin, are you on? Would you like to provide comments?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Your time begins now.
Great. Well, thanks for hosting this. My name is Kevin Zidak, calling in with Appalachian Voices, nonprofit organization focused on the economies and environment of Central and Southern Appalachia. Just wanted to hit 2 main points here today to keep in mind as we look at what this program looks like going forward. And really just want to stress, coming from a regional perspective, that small towns really need more support to respond to floods and mitigate risks. Many local certified floodplain managers don't see the benefits to their communities participating in the program, given the requirements for enlisting and maintaining their CRS status. So, the points in the proposal of increased technical assistance, providing kind of a case study supplement to folks who are looking into this really is important when we're talking about rural, small communities. Also, just acknowledging the difference in some of our risk factors for inland communities, thinking about West Virginia, Tennessee, Kentucky, Virginia, and how that's kind of a different picture of risk and different kind of solutions in those areas. Finally, just want to hit on really raising up the watershed approach, We know, I can think of a couple communities that I've talked to and worked with that are really concerned about watershed dynamics, communities upstream creating a lot of parking lots, strip mall development, and the communities downstream bearing the brunt of that flood risk. So being able to kind of take a watershed approach to this and allowing communities downstream to benefit directly from those projects that they collaborate with on upstream communities is really important to mitigating risk in a holistic way. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next up, we have Reynaldo Ortiz. Reynaldo, are you on and would you like to provide comments?
No comments at this time. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Next up, we have Liz Treston. Liz, are you on? And if so, please raise your hand. Does not appear that Liz is online. Next up, we have Joel Camacho. Joel, are you on and would you like to provide comments?
No, I don't have any comment.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm going to come back to Mr. Sijas. Vince, are you on and are you able to speak? You want to try again? If you're speaking, we cannot hear you, but you should, but it does appear that you're unmuted. Okay, Vince, it appears we're not able to hear you speak. We'd encourage you to submit written comments through regulations.gov, through the information that's posted in the chat, and or to register for the next Tuesday's public meeting in case you'd like to provide verbal comments there as well. If there are others, so we've gone through the list of all those who registered and indicated a desire to speak at this meeting. If there are others who would like to speak but maybe didn't indicate that during their registration, we would invite you to raise your hand, and then we will call on you and offer you a chance to provide verbal comments. So we'll give it a moment to see if there are a few who want to provide comments. Okay. Madison Brown, we see your hand up. One moment and we will call on you. All right, Madison, if you're able to come off mute.
Can y'all hear me?
We can. Your time starts now.
Hi, thank you. My name is Madison. I am a certified floodplain manager. I have experience with coastal communities here in Florida. And something that I would like to see, and I speak on behalf of some of my constituents, is a way of addressing the issue with the encroachments with fill for single family lots. We're starting to see some sort of like a bowl effect where you have new homes that are being built to the required stipulations for grade and building height, but then the houses down the street that aren't being changed, they're collecting all of that rainwater. And it's happening in coastal communities all over the state of Florida, California. I would like to see CRS give us some sort of guidance for how we can approach this, whether it's encouraging more open space or finding alternatives to fill in the floodplain, not allowing it. I would definitely like to see some guidance on that. And as well, I'd like to follow up with another comment, whereas, you know, for the smaller communities, it is hard to obtain the required points to get into the lower classes. So having some sort of scaled down version of CRS for your smaller guys so that they can participate and get those discounts, because the barrier islands still have the expensive real estate and still have those high flood insurance premiums, even though we are dedicated to making more resilient communities and encouraging those higher standards. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. If there's anyone else who would like to provide verbal comments for the record, please raise your hand and then we will call on you. Okay. Mark Fuller, we see your hand up. Please come off mute and do a mic check and we can let you know if it works.
Hey, it's Mark Fuller. I'm CRS coordinator for Tallahassee, Florida. One of the issues that was brought up earlier, the elevation certificates getting the 90%. Our community does a good job of keeping the elevation certificates down. So we have a small number of elevation certificates. And to make that 90%, it's pretty hard if we just miss even one. So somehow it'd be nice to do something with the elevation certificates where we don't have to have 90%, or, don't punish a community that's doing a really good job in keeping those elevation certificate numbers down and then holding us to like a higher percentage. I don't know what the exact answer is, but that 90%, if you don't have a lot of elevation certificates, is hard to reach. Thanks.
Thank you for the comments. If anyone else would like to provide comments, please raise your hand and we will call on you. Okay, Ross Shales, we see your hand up. Let us know when you're able to try coming off mute.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. I have not attended one of these sessions in a good little while, so I'm a little concerned. I'm going to bring up something that has been brought up as a concern before. For clients who elect to get a policy without an elevation certificate, I'm looking for the opportunity to be able to see what you guys rate the elevation of that house at, so that I can better, when I'm doing quotes, so that I can then better advise a client as to whether or not I think an elevation certificate would help them. That's it.
Okay, thank you for your comment. If there are others who would like to speak, please raise your hand and we will call on you. Would anyone else like to provide verbal comments? Yes, Elizabeth Wong, we see your hand up. Let us know if you're able to come off mute.
Okay, can you hear me again?
We can, yes.
Okay, the CRS discounts are, as I understand it, applied to those folks in the special flood hazard area, zone A's, all the A's, and only a very small amount to the folks that lives in the X zones. I think that's a little unfair. The discount should also apply to those living in the X zone because they're voluntarily buying flood insurance when they don't have to. And you and I both know that those insurance rates have skyrocketed tremendously over the last couple of years. The X zones are so expensive. I really think if the community can get CRS discounts for those people in the SFHA, the ones in the Zone X should also benefit. My suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Are there any others who would like to provide comments? If so, please raise your hand. Jim Franklin, we see your hand up. Let us know if you're able to come off mute.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on the last commenter's comment. Under risk rating 2.0, the CRS discount is applied to all policies, Zone X and special flood hazard area. So just for everybody's benefit.
Brian, are you able to come off mute? We see your hand up, but we don't hear you yet. Still can't hear you yet, Brian.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now. Great.
Okay. Brian Rast here. Yes, I was going to comment that similar to the discount on flood insurance premiums, I think is a great way to incentivize these activities in the CRS program. And I hope that FEMA would consider in the future to raise that level beyond the, I think, 45% max that it is right now. I think that the documentation required behind each class level, I think it is a lot to do, but I think if maybe the incentive was greater, then that documentation could be provided, because the actuarial approach to insurance is going to continue to be a burden on anybody wanting to get a premium. And so I think that would be a great way to further incentivize the program. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. If anyone else would like to provide comments for the record, please raise your hand and we will call on you. Okay, Ben Thompson, we see your hand up. Please come off mute.
Hey, this is Ben Thompson from the city of Fort Worth. I'm just going to say we'll provide written comments for all the questions, but because it was mentioned a couple of times, I just want to pile on to the 90% elevation certificate accuracy. We also don't turn in very many, and when you miss one or two and are at risk of downgrading completely out of the system or the program, it's pretty disheartening. So, especially for something that, you know, we don't fill out the elevation certificates. We just have to hunt down surveyors who did it wrong. So, and the other comment I was going to make is just from a program perspective, and I don't know which question this pertains to exactly, but maybe number 11. I think it'd just be good to try and provide more credit. For example, 610 is kind of an all or nothing type activity. And so you can spend millions of dollars on a flood warning system and get zero credit because you don't have all the prerequisites. And so I just think it'd be better to reward communities for partial credit for things, so it's not such an all or nothing. I think the watershed, I think maybe 410 is kind of the same way. So I think it'd be good to look at ways to give partial credit for some of those all or nothing type activities. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments. Elena Davino, would you like to provide the comments? If so, please come off mute.
Yeah.
Elena, we heard you for a moment, but then it cut out. Do you want to try again? Elena, if you're able to come off mute, please try again.
All right. Can you hear me now?
We can.
Perfect. The only suggestion that I have is specifically dealing with Activity 370, which has to do with flood insurance promotion. Just a suggestion, making the CIS what if data a little bit more user friendly, because in its current state, it's kind of hard to decipher and analyze.
Okay, does that conclude your comment?
Yes, it does.
Okay, thank you. If there's anyone else that would like to provide comments, please raise your hand and we will call on you. Okay, this is a final call for anyone who would like to provide verbal comments for the record. If you would like to do so, please raise your hand. Okay, there are no hands raised. Shilpa, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Hunter. And as a reminder, there is one more public meeting which is scheduled for August 27. So those of you who did not have a chance to review the RFI, you are welcome to review that, and the alternatives are there at the bottom of the RFI, and you can register for the August 27th meeting if you want to provide your verbal comments. With that, I want to thank you again for joining today's public meeting, and for those who provided their verbal comments. We need input from the whole community as we review the CRS program and position it for the future. If you have not already done so, please remember to submit written comments via the federal e-rulemaking portal at www.regulations.gov using Docket ID FEMA-2024-0022-0001 up until September 9, 2024. The transcripts of this public meeting will be made available on FEMA.gov and on the Federal Register at a later date. In the meantime, please send any questions to FEMA-CRS-redesign at FEMA.dhs.gov. Thank you again, and this concludes today's public meeting for FEMA CRS redesign.